What was that pressure like on you and the All Blacks?
I think we learnt quite a bit about handling that sort of pressure across the series, and by the time the end came, and the extraordinary part about the 81 test in Auckland was the quality of the rugby that was played. Take all the rest of it may have attracted more attention from people who knew nothing about rugby, but the quality of the game was outstanding, and that was as good an All Black team as I played in the 15 years. Wow. So there is no more difficult time to find concentration than when it's most needed. And that time, it was most needed because of the amount of distraction.
4 years later, you ended your All Black career in probably an unusual venue of Buenos Aires.
Yeah.
In a draw as well.
Came out square.
Were you lucky to draw that game?
Probably. What was it, 6 drop
21
goals?
all, yeah.
What was it, 7 drop goals or a penalty and 6
Something
drop
like
goals?
That. Kicks to the Argentines.
All kicks, yeah. And I don't think we kicked many ourselves or any. That's, you know, the way it goes sometimes.
It ended more than 100 games for New Zealand, 41 tests, 76 other games. A very, very long career. Who in that time were some of the locks that you remember, opposing and playing with? Just a couple of them that always you felt, my word, great, loved the contest, incredible rival.
Well, I started off with Paul Whiting, and then Paul was quite often injured. Then Frank Oliver, and then Gary Wetton. So those are the 3 main ones.
And opponents?
There were a couple of good South Africans, Skalkberger at the end and Louis Moorman at the beginning, and Alan Martin in Wales. And they had a couple of Poms that came along too that were reasonably good. Ralston, good line-out man. Yeah, it's all pretty dull nowadays and pretty dim.
During that career, I guess also you began to work on your life after playing, I guess, as well, with a career that's run very parallel, hasn't it, in many ways, for a start, with the All Blacks. Although initially, I gather you wanted to be a vet, and at one stage studied geology as well?
I went to Massey University to do medical intermediate, which I did in the first year at university, and then got involved in the rugby a bit, and they didn't offer the same course in Auckland. You had to stay in Manawatu if you wanted to do veterinary science. And I was away that year with the exams, and ended up just swapping careers and for want of something else to study, I studied geology.
When you went overseas, did you find that experiences there helped you in terms of perhaps evolving a career running parallel with sports management?
Well,
before you set up your companies?
I had to find a career that fitted in with the rugby, because 15 years was a long time to play for the All Blacks, and so I had to find things that fitted in with All Black rugby, and what I did serve that purpose.
It amuses me greatly, though, that while many around New Zealand see you as an agent provocateur or whatever, that you worked for the rugby union, of course, at one stage too, didn't you, as marketing advisor to them?
For 3 years, contracted.
Yeah. So you were on side for a while.
No, it was a sort of I was going to say blackmail, but it wasn't quite like that. Not far off it. I started working as a marketing agent for them immediately after they attempted to end my career with a high-profile case. It wasn't really a court case, because it was a sort of a kangaroo court that they assembled in Wellington to deal to my career, which I didn't take kindly to particularly as I'd put more into the All Blacks than any of them had. And I was passionate about All Black rugby for a long period of time, particularly the last 10 or 12 years. And didn't think many of them were anything other than on a junket, so I lost sympathy with a lot of administration and struggled to get that back again.
Your temperament, etc., would tend to suggest, though, that you're better suited on the other side of the fence, wouldn't it?
Maybe so.
In that you're probably a better cajoling people and prodding them and making them think, isn't that part of what you like doing?
I certainly didn't want to sit around committee rooms. It didn't seem as if it was achieving much.
You stand outside, you watch, you have a lot of contact with sports people, you watch a lot of rugby still. What do you think the game is in reasonable shape at the moment? Do you think it's heading in the right direction?
Yes, I think there's a good depth of players. I think it is doing as well as anywhere in the world, and I do think it's in good shape. I think the preparation of our side physically is fantastic, and I think it's well led. So there's a lot of ingredients there that they have got right, and that's why the results are like they are.
It's got through the early stages of professionalism, but now it's into the next chapter.
The professional thing is a wee bit of a dilemma still, how that fits the environment of a team structure, how equitable it is, and it was always of concern by the administrators that the prop who wasn't flashy and fashionable would be able to make his way with contracts and so on, and endorsements and appearances and things like that, and not be disadvantaged against the flashy first five or the fancy winger. But that's settled down quite nicely, and it's balanced out. Yeah, and I see that props top the list of contracted players in Europe.
Yeah.
So it's all
there's still still room for forwards in the game.
There is.
Yeah.
There would be a lot more room if they stopped the lifting of the lineouts too, because there would be some athletic second rowers required.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you like to play in the modern game as it is now?
I'd have given it a go. Yeah, I would have given it a go. I would have enjoyed it. In those days, today it seems a lot about accumulating tests, caps. You know, I'm playing 3 minutes, and you know, at the end of a game to get another one, or getting a test against. Japan seems to be very important. Bismarck Archipelago, Rocknest Island, all those sort of places, they feature on the test calendar. So all that stuff is a bit transparent, a bit loose.
So for you, do you prefer World Cups a bit more? Or the last stages of a World Cup?
The World Cup was always going to be a great addition. And they tried desperately in the Northern Hemisphere to avoid it, and nearly did so. And if it wasn't for a couple of people down here that espoused the idea and ended up with a trial run in 1987, what the IRB said was a trial run, that they could perhaps do away with afterwards, and it got so much momentum out of the first one that they had no chance of doing away with it. So people like Tom Johnson and Dick Littlejohn and Ron Don, Richie Guy, a few of those guys, people that climbed into it and made sure it was not going to go away. We owe them a bit. That's good administration that manages to redirect the passage of history.